Rocketman, directed by Dexter Fletcher, is a biographical musical film that follows the life and story of famous musician Elton John. Elton starts as a kid, then eventually a young man with his musical journey that aspires to write songs and play the piano, the things he's always loved and had a special talent for. Eventually he becomes one of the most successful musicians on the planet, but with that success comes some serious issues that eventually result in some substance abuse issues as well. As Elton tries to navigate the music industry, he also tries to find happiness. Alright, so I've been meaning to see and review Rocketman for a while now. I enjoyed all the trailers, I heard great things from a lot of different people, and I wanted to make sure I saw it before it actually left the theaters. Well, my brother and I actually went to a 9 p.m. showing the other night, and while we did leave the theater pretty late, it was well worth it. I love this movie, and I do have a hard time envisioning it outside of my top 10 films at the end of the year. The performances, the music, the cinematography, it's all excellent. The entire film feels like a very honest yet fantastical telling of an amazing success story. One thing I think that took me by surprise was how much of a musical this is. I mean, it's a musical biopic, and I expected Elton John's music to maintain a pretty consistent presence, but this is a musical. I mean, the characters will break into song and dance like with really over-the-top dance numbers, and it actually worked surprisingly well for me. Not always, though. I did feel like there were times where the characters will do a song and dance number like right in the middle of a really dramatic scene, and I didn't always love that, but that's really the only bad thing I can say about this movie. I was in it start to finish, and I found myself so invested in Elton John and rooting for him to succeed and to overcome his obstacles. You're probably going to hear me compare this movie to Bohemian Rhapsody a decent amount in this review, just because of the nature of the two films and how similar they are in terms of, being musical biopics. But what I liked even more about Rocketman is that it feels more honest and less like a polished filter telling of a musician's crazy success story. This one really does go quite deep into Elton's family life and his addiction to a variety of drugs, his things like his feelings of insecurity and loneliness, and of course, his difficult business dealings throughout his career. While Bohemian Rhapsody has some of those aspects in the film as well, Rocketman takes it a step further and digs a little bit deeper with it. It peels back the curtain a little bit more and gives us more transparency and more looks at what kind of obstacles Elton faced during his career, which was great. And I gotta say that Taron Egerton really knocked it out of the park here. I mean, I never thought that he would be the perfect actor to play Elton John, but he was. I mean, the way he played him felt so genuine and so immersive that it really did elevate the quality of the film quite a bit for me. This is probably the best performance I've seen in a film this year, and I'd be really surprised if he doesn't at least get an Oscar nomination next year. He's that good in this movie. What I liked about his performance was that he portrayed Elton as almost two different people. The Elton you see behind closed doors that was much more subdued and quieter, and the Elton you see on stage that's eccentric and lively with all his costumes and such. There are definitely points where the two personas sort of blend together and Elton becomes louder and more reckless, but that's mostly when his addiction is at its peak and he loses himself a bit. I just love the development of this character, and even though he makes a lot of mistakes, you can't help but root for him. The other main performance here of note is Jamie Bel. He plays Elton's songwriter Bernie, and I think he too does a great job in playing a likable character. He makes mistakes, but he's not nearly as flawed as Elton in this film, and a lot of times he becomes the voice of reason for Elton when he goes off the tracks a little bit. What I liked about Bernie was his relationship with Elton. I mean, the two have the amazing working relationship and also an awesome friendship. Bernie is one of the few, if not the only person that Elton can truly trust as his songwriter and main confidant, and I think that friendship and working relationship adds some emotional weight to this film. So one of the most important aspects of Rocketman is the music, obviously. Considering this is a musical biopic after all, it's important that the music makes you feel nostalgic. It sounds good, of course, and it's also got to be weaved into the narrative in a way that feels natural. I'm happy to report that Rocketman does all those things. Similar to how I felt going into Bohemian Rhapsody, I've just never really listened much to Elton John's music. I know Tiny Dancer and I know Rocketman and Candle in the Wind, but his music hasn't often been on my radar. Well, now it is, because I loved how they weaved it into this story. The song and dance numbers are always impressive at the very least, and my brother and I were actually saying that some of them reminded us of La La Land, which is high praise coming from me, especially considering how much I love that movie. But like I said, there are some scenes where I feel like the injection of singing and dancing diminishes the dramatic impact of the scene, but I mostly found the music to be outstanding. This is another area where Taron Egerton knocked it out of the park. I mean, his singing and playing were both awesome, and I again gotta give him credit where credit is due. I also loved how the movie is shot, particularly in regards to those musical aspects. Whenever there's a song and dance number, the film goes into like a dreamlike sequence where the characters begin to transcend reality. And this is done through editing too, but the cinematography does a great job with tracking long shots and also highlighting aspects of the environments and characters' emotions and giving the film a visual style that's unique. The movie has a lot of style because it does feel unique in how it portrays important moments in Elton John's life and his career, and also just how it builds those musical set pieces that really do feel special and grand. But yeah, this film is really well shot, and I was impressed with just how good it actually looks. It's certainly special in that way. So overall, I'm really glad I got a chance to see this one in theaters. It's definitely one of the best films of the year thus far, and it offers quite a bit of entertainment value to anyone that's interested in this type of musical biopic film. As for the pros/cons, for the pros, I think Taron Egerton delivered an outstanding leading performance. The music is weaved really well into the story, the cinematography is great, and the film feels very honest. As for the cons, sometimes the music diminishes the dramatic impact of certain scenes just by being there, but that's my only gripe with it. I'm going to give Rocketman a 9.5 out of 10 and definitely recommend you check it out if you still can in theaters. It is R-rated, so it's not a movie for kids, but if you're an adult and you like Elton John or you just want to see a great film, go see this one. So did you guys see Rocketman yet? What did you think of it? And if not, let me know why not. And also let me know your favorite film of 2019 thus far. Since we're a little bit past the midpoint, I think it's time to start thinking about that question. But for me, it's John Wick Chapter 3, Parabellum. That movie was just so good, and I can't actually stop thinking about how good that one actually was. So that's actually my number one for right now. But there still is a lot of time left in the year. Either way, this is WillFoxification signing off. See you in the next review.